Hey everyone, and welcome back. Get ready, because today we're diving headfirst into everything everywhere all at once.
Ooh, one of my favorites.
So hold on, we're not just discussing the plot. We're going deeper than those epic fight scenes, exploring the big ideas that make this film so unique. We've got some awesome insights from the Los Angeles Times and even Wikipedia to unpack all the good stuff.
Nice.
Get this right, the way this movie tackles the whole multiverse thing. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. It's not just about hopping between realities. It's about how the internet, all this tech, makes us feel.
Totally. It's really interesting how the Daniels use the multiverse as this metaphor for the anxieties of living in the digital age. Think about it. Remember that feeling of having a zillion tabs open, just bombarded with information?
Ugh, don't even remind me.
That's Evelyn's life before the multiverse even starts.
It's like they bottled up that feeling of endless scrolling and cranked it up to 1,000.
Exactly. And the LA Times article even points out how the Daniels were super intrigued by the shift we've seen from early internet optimism to, well, a more, let's just say, realistic view.
It's true. We went from the future is friendly to the future might eat us.
Right. They were really grappling with how technology, as amazing as it is, can also be completely overwhelming.
And let's not forget, these are the minds behind those, shall we say, unforgettable music videos. And, well, that movie with the lively corpse. Clearly, they don't shy away from the weird.
That's for sure.
But even in those early projects, you can see this drive to say something meaningful, to go beyond just shock value.
Absolutely. And with everything everywhere, they masterfully wove those deeper themes into the very fabric of the multiverse.
And they did it by tapping into something incredibly personal. Kwan's own life, his background. The LA Times mentioned how his family's experience as Chinese Americans, it directly shaped how the film explores identity and those what-if crossroads we all face.
It's so true. And the multiverse becomes this perfect space to unpack those feelings, that feeling of, what if I'd made different choices? It's universal, but it hits especially hard for immigrants who've changed their whole lives.
It's like the stakes of every choice are amplified when you've already taken that leap.
Absolutely. And speaking of different paths, one of the most unique things about this film is how it blends languages. You've got Cantonese, Mandarin, English, all woven together so naturally.
Like music.
Exactly. And it's not just stylistic. It reflects Kwan's own upbringing. It adds this whole other layer of authenticity to the story.
You feel like you're right there with them.
Exactly. And you know what else it does? It highlights the challenges of communication even before the multiverse craziness kicks in. You see how language barriers become this metaphor for the difficulties of connecting with your loved ones, especially across generations.
And that whole thing about generations not seeing eye to eye. It's central to Evelyn and Joy's relationship, right? The LA Times article really digs into how the Daniels, the directors, connect with that feeling of your parents just not getting you, especially as artists.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, in some other corner of the multiverse, are there versions of our parents who totally get our creative choices?
Right. Maybe in that hot dog hands universe, everything makes sense.
Speaking of which, we got to talk about those hot dogs.
Gosh, I know, right? I mean, I love weird stuff, but that scene had me laughing so hard.
It's not just about the laughs, though. The LA Times article said the Daniels described that universe as an empathy challenge for Evelyn. At first she's totally disgusted, obviously.
Understandably.
But it forces her to confront her own limited view of what's considered beautiful or valuable.
It's like, what if our idea of normal is actually the weird one?
Right. And the LA Times article, the way they described her disgust, I love it. They said it was like a symphony of fleshy slapping sounds.
It's so spot on. How do you even come up with that?
Only the Daniels. But, it's brilliant because they take these super bizarre ideas and ground them in real human emotions. We've all felt disgust.
Definitely. Okay, but what about the Rakakuni universe? So good. Did you know that came about because the producer's dad kept mixing up movie titles? In real life?
No way. Seriously.
Yeah. It's perfect, though, right? Because it captures that universal feeling of, wait, what movie are we talking about again? We've all been there. But in the film, it becomes this commentary on how even the most outlandish ideas could exist somewhere out there in the multiverse.
It's true. They're telling us to open our minds to the absurd. Like that quote from Scheinert in the LA Times. There's lowbrow and highbrow, but all the brows are good. They're all worth exploring.
Love that. Okay, but we can't forget Jobu Tupaki, our villain, our agent of chaos.
You're right. And get this. Her name, this powerful, destructive force. It might have come from a casual baby-naming brainstorm between Kwan and his wife.
You're kidding. No way.
Swear! It just shows you inspiration comes from the strangest places.
That's amazing. But on a more serious note, Jobu Tupaki, she represents something really interesting. Nihilism. This idea that nothing really matters, you know?
Right, like in the grand scheme of things. Which brings us to that terrifying everything bagel.
Oh my God, the everything bagel. Talk about existential dread. It's like staring into the void, but the void has sprinkles.
The Daniels actually discuss this in their companion book. They talk about how the everything bagel represents feeling overwhelmed by just how vast existence is, all those endless possibilities.
It's kind of paralyzing when you think about it too much. Like, infinite choices sound cool until you actually have to make them.
Exactly. And that's where the casting in the film comes in. It adds this whole other layer to what it means to exist in a multiverse of possibilities.
Right. And speaking of casting, can we just take a moment for Michelle Yeoh? I mean, come on.
The Queen.
The fact that they leaned into her real-life experience as this huge movie star, the LA Times mentioned that, it adds this amazing meta layer to the whole film.
Right. Like they're saying, even someone as iconic as Michelle Yeoh, she's just one version of herself in the multiverse.
And then you have Ke Huy Quan. His comeback story is almost as incredible as his character Wayman.
I know. Talk about a glow-up. He starts as this unassuming husband, then bam, total badass.
What?
Just like Kron going from child star to, well, a star all over again.
And the LA Times talked about how much Kwan connected with that theme of second chances. You can really feel it in his performance.
Absolutely. It adds this whole other layer of emotion to the movie's message of hope, of finding your own power. But as much as I love the visuals, the acting, we can't forget the music, this movie wouldn't be the same without that amazing score by Sun Lux.
Oh, the music is killer. And get this, according to Wikipedia, each band member actually composed their parts separately. Yeah. Which, if you think about it, reflects how fragmented and multifaceted the film is.
Whoa. I never thought of it like that.
And then there's Randy Newman voicing Raccacoonie. I mean, come on. It's these little touches that make the film so charming.
They really did throw everything into the mix, but somehow it all works.
It really gets you thinking, what if we could jump between different versions of our lives? What would those look like?
It's a question that sticks with you, even after the movie ends. Imagine seeing those alternate paths, those other yous you could have been. Would you even recognize yourself?
It may be even more important. What can we learn from those possibilities? Even without, actually jumping universes.
Right. It's like the movie's telling us, hey, you have choices, even if you don't have infinite universes to play around with.
Exactly. It's about seeing the potential right here in this life, the different paths we could take. Maybe we don't need a giant bagel to show us those possibilities. Maybe it's just about looking at our own lives with fresh eyes.
Totally. Embrace the chaos, see where it leads, right?
Love that. Well, folks, that wraps up our deep dive into Everything Everywhere All at Once.
What a ride.
We hope this exploration into the ideas behind the film gave you a whole new appreciation for it.
It's such a wild, hilarious, surprisingly emotional film.
For those who want to dive even deeper, be sure to check out the full articles. We've got links in the show notes.
And of course, if you haven't already, watch the movie. You won't regret it.
Until next time, everyone, keep exploring, keep questioning, keep diving deep into the stuff that makes you think.